Oh my God!
Hey guys, FilmCrazyAdam here. To those of you that have just stumbled across this channel, I appreciate you rolling the dice and I hope you enjoy what you see. To those of you that continue to roll the dice for some reason, I really appreciate you coming back. I hope I can continue to entertain you, and I hope you continue to enjoy what you see. Anyway, pleasantries out of the way, let's get to the video that you really came to see. Let's talk about She-Hulk Episode 2. Well, it wasn't as bad as last week, but that ain't saying much. I mean, what else really could be as bad or worse than what we saw last week? You shut up! No! That's for next week. Shut up! It's not funny. Anyway, so I think I'm going to take a little bit more time with this review. Last week, I kind of policed myself on the length of it because I didn't want to, I don't know, seem too ambitious about my review, though there was a lot of stuff that I didn't talk about. Like, if I did talk about it, I barely touched on that wonderful speech that Jen has, that super wonderful, empowering speech that Jen has. You know the one. So I might go a little bit longer this time around. Like, I was really surprised. I did like a half-hour review last week, and I was like, okay, that might be a little bit much for a guy just getting back in the swing of things. And I saw other reviewers I watched, they're dropping 45-minute, hour-long reviews of this, and I was like, oh, damn. All right. Well, so like I said, I might let this one go for a walk, and we'll see what happens. But though it might not nearly go as long just because I didn't have as much. I don't have as much to talk about in this review. Don't get me wrong. There's plenty of stuff I have wrong with this review. Oh yeah, I haven't said it yet. This episode sucked too. Did it suck as bad as last week's episode? No. It didn't suck nearly as bad as last week. But I mean, you know, this is a turd with a little bit more shine on it than the one from last week, I guess. So yeah, it was still bad. It still wasn't great. I still hate Jen. She's still an annoying and even kind of an awful person. So, but this episode doesn't have as much for me to, like I said, I'm going to have plenty to take apart, but it doesn't have as much because nothing happens in this episode. Like, that is the biggest crime in this episode, is that nothing happens. And so there's not as much to draw from. And this episode was even shorter than the one from last week. Let's see. There were things that were, consistently bad, like the CGI. Like, look at this meme. This stuff from 2009. Look at this stuff from 13 years ago. That CGI was leaps and bounds and light years better than what we've seen so far in Marvel this year and last year. And part of that is because, and I've read this in articles and I've heard this from other reviewers who know people in Hollywood, where basically the workload is just so heavy on Marvel that, or the CGI animators and everything on Marvel, the special effects guys at Marvel have such a huge workload, and like, it's easy to see, they put out like 8 shows now and like 5 movies in the last 2 years. So like, they've got a lot on their plate. And they're being rushed and forced and ridden to get this stuff out as fast as possible, as many shows as possible. So it actually kind of makes sense that the stuff is lacking. But I mean, even so, that's another hit against Disney and another hit against Kevin Feige, because you've got Disney money. You've got empire money. Like, you're an empire. Disney is an empire. It is a multi-billion-dollar business. And when you've got that kind of money, you have the capability, you have the means to put out a good product. So when you're putting out when you've got mouse money and you're putting out this kind of shit, I mean, this kind of garbage is just unacceptable. So yeah, like, I can't get past the CGI. Like, this is not good CGI. And they have no excuse for it to be this good. I mean, for it to be this bad. This entire episode, all she did was whine. Whenever anyone complimented her, she was like, "Oh no, I'm not. I didn't want this. I don't want to be called She-Hulk." And people giving her drinks. "Oh, I don't. They're just giving it to me because, because I did this thing in court when I turned into She-Hulk. They're just giving it to me because I'm a superhero, or they think I'm a superhero." And people start calling her She-Hulk, and she's like, "I don't like that."
No, that's for somebody called She-Hulk, which can't possibly be what they're calling me. That name better not stick.
She goes to see her parents. And before she even goes to see her parents, she complains about going to see her parents. And then when she's there at dinner with her parents and the rest of her family, she's complaining. And then when she talks to her dad, she's complaining. And then when she talks to her friend later, she's complaining. And then when she talks to Bruce later, she's complaining. Always just constant whining. I'm so sick and tired of this. And this is only episode 2. Ugh. Let's go through the parts of this episode that really pissed me off. So at one point in the bar, Jen is talking with her friend, and her friend's like, "You should really, like this superhero thing, you should really embrace it. It's a good deal." And Jen starts saying, "Oh, I'm not a superhero. That's only for adult orphans, billionaires, and narcissists."
That is for billionaires and narcissists and adult orphans.
Let that sink in for a second. Those 3 characters: adult orphan, narcissist, billionaire. Like, she all but just said Tony Stark. Like, this is a direct attack on Tony Stark. Arguably the most important Avenger. I mean, fans have their favorites. I have my favorite. But logically speaking, Tony, he was the bank. He was, in many cases, he was the guy that provided the transportation, provided the weapons, provided food, provided resources. He was the money guy. So arguably, Captain America couldn't have done what he did without the freaking shield. Boom, right off the bat. That was from Tony's dad, but yeah, it was a Stark product. Bruce in She-Hulk episode 1, he talks about, Tony made me this fantastic, amazing, state-of-the-art laboratory by himself, basically, in Mexico. He bought he designed and built Spider-Man's suit, both of his suits. So Tony arguably is the most important Avenger, and let's face it, this guy is a guy who laid down his very life for the planet Earth and saved everybody by using the Infinity Stones on Thanos. Not only that, but countless times before that, he went up against titans and gods and an army of space creatures and an army of robots. He has gone up and fought for Earth, and the entire time he is thinking just about Earth. Like, you can definitely make a very easy case that this guy was a narcissist, that this guy thought of himself, that he was very full of himself. But in the end, he had a heart of gold. He kind of like Han Solo in that regard, where Han Solo, he acts tough. He is tough. He talks a good game. And in the end, he's like, "Screw you guys, I'm going home." But then, he walks out the door, he gets about 10 steps away, and he goes, right before the Death Star fight, he's like, they're like, "We could really use you, man. You'd be a big help, and you'd be helping out a lot of people." And he's like, "Nope, no, not my fight. I'm out. Later." And he got about half a parsec away, and he's like, "God damn, son of a bitch. Fine, all right." And turned around and came back. And that's exactly what Tony does. He comes across as abrasive, and he's very full of himself. And he has kind of a legit mean. He's brilliant and he's rich. More so to be full of yourself because you're brilliant like he is than the rich part. But the rich doesn't slow him down either. Like in Iron Man 3, which most people hated, but let's face it, at the very end, he gave that kid that helped him out a whole bunch of swag. You know, he designed, built, and financed the Avengers base in upstate New York for free use of Captain and Black Widow and Scarlet Witch and Vision and that whole crew that was up there. You know, it was his Quinjets and everything, or at least he might have helped design them or something. But so like all of this technology, all this stuff, and I'm going down a real deep rabbit hole just on Tony Stark. I know I am, but anyway. But my point is that like she is attacking this guy who literally gave his life and gave his all, and in the end had a heart of gold. Like, you know, I don't know if we saw it here, but I mean, like he had a breakdown when Peter got dusted after the snap. I mean, that really broke Tony. Like, it really did. So, like, yeah, this guy was a really great guy, a guy with a heart of gold, like I've said. And she's taking these pot shots at this guy. You know, talk about speaking ill of the dead. She doesn't name him, but I mean, like, she's talking about Tony. God, just the audacity of this character, of this girl. Like, who do you think you are? Okay, so you're a Hulk. Like, you've literally done nothing except complain the entire time that you've been a superhero, and the entire time you've argued that you are not a superhero. And I will agree with you. You are not super or a hero. You're annoying. God, I hate her. I still don't understand why her hair goes straight as She-Hulk, by the way. You know, this episode doesn't seem to be able to make up its mind either to, are we going to have her in Jen form or She-Hulk form? Jen or She-Hulk? Jen or She... Like, they keep flipping back and forth. And there's literally no reason for her to be She-Hulk in this entire episode. She doesn't fight anybody. In fact, the only times that she is She-Hulk is when her boss and her friend tell her to transform. Her boss is like, we want you as kind of the poster child, you know, the face of this new division. And her friend's just like, yeah, turn it on. Like, she is so easily persuaded. She has no will of her own, this idiot. I can't... Moving on. You know, that entire bar scene really pissed me off. There's, for example, she comes in, and as She-Hulk, because her friend goads her on and peer pressures her into transforming, even though she doesn't want to. Like, what a great friend, right? And the friend gets free drinks, and like she kind of knew this going in. Like, you know what? Let me just talk about the friend for a second. Her name, Nikki Ramos, she is actually, to me, almost as unlikable, if not more so, than Jen. Because not only is she really annoying, but she's a bottom feeder. You know, she is somebody that just rides Jen's coattail, and she's that annoying person that, like, is their cheerleader. Or no, she's like a manager from WWF. She's like a wrestler manager that, like, you know, talks trash about the other person while talking good about their own person, and like advertising them just so that they can get a cut of that they can get a piece of the pie. And God, she is so materialistic. Like in the first episode, she's the one like, oh, Jen, your shoes. Yeah, take those off. You know, in the heat of the moment, somebody is attacking a courtroom full of people, and her first thought is, oh my God, those are such nice shoes. You really shouldn't ruin them by transforming. You know, everyone else, you know, hold up, everybody. You all in the jury box that are kind of, you know, you're kind of stuck there. It's going to be hard for you to run away because you're in a box. You're basically fish to be shot in a barrel. You hold up, you guys. We gotta make sure that her shoes are intact after this. So, and then she goes to Jen's office, or like Jen says, like, I'm not gonna. I'll get to that. Anyway, she now works for Jen in Jen's new job in Jen's office, and she goes around. Look at the windows and look at all the free booze that we got here. And at one point, Jen is like, you know, they want me to be She-Hulk all the time at this job, and you know, I'm gonna have to buy a whole new wardrobe. And Nikki's like, well, you've got the money for that now. God, she is such a gold digger. She's such a gold digger. And she's so materialistic. I hate her so much. I think I actually hate her more than Jen, if that's possible. Ugh. So getting back to the bar scene. So after Nikki gets free drinks and like She-Hulk is downing them, Banner talks about this in the first episode that because the Hulk is the Hulk and he's got his own metabolism and it's different, like we can drink as much alcohol as we want and we don't get drunk, which really begs the question, why? What's the point? Now, I'm not a big drinker. Like, I'll have a glass of wine with dinner now and then, like maybe once a week, but it's more of a compliment for the food. Like, I'm not one of those people that can just drink even a beer. Like, in fact, I hate beer. But like, I'm not one of those people that can just drink because, like, to me, it's kind of like drinking. It's alcohol. It's, it burns. Call me a baby or whatever, but it's not my favorite thing to drink, which is why I stick with like soft drinks. But I understand by most people who drink, like, the point to drinking is to get drunk. And so, like, what's the point of drinking if you can't get drunk? And so on that note, how did Jen have a hangover in the first episode? Like, if the Hulk genes have already processed that alcohol and filtered that through her system, why does she have a hangover? Similarly, in this episode, she's drinking and she's in her She-Hulk form and everything's fine. So she drinks all this booze and her boss is like, yeah, could you transform into Jen so I can talk to you kind of eye to eye, or at least so, I'm not looking straight up at you. And so she does. And then immediately, she is blasted. She is completely blissed. She is so shit-faced. And again, it makes no sense because she already drank the alcohol. The Hulk genes already processed it. So it wouldn't still be in her system. Like, imagine if you were in Hulk form and then you ate just a truckload of food, like an actual truckload of food. And then you went to the John and you took a king-size shit. And then you came back and then you transformed into your regular body. And then you went, oh man, I am so full. I am so stuffed from all that food that I ate and then got rid of. That makes no sense, but that's what they did in this episode. It's so stupid. I'm also sick and tired of how they continually take pot shots at Banner, even now in episode 2. Because they keep mentioning how Banner destroyed a city. And of course they're referencing the Incredible Hulk movie, where he was played by Edward Norton, and he fought Abomination in Harlem. Okay, he damaged him and Abomination. Definitely, they did some heavy damage. Definitely, millions of dollars worth of damage in a few blocks. Even during the Battle of New York in the Avengers, the city wasn't destroyed. I mean, plenty of the city had a rough day, most of it being in Midtown, but that's not destroyed. It's a lot of it is wrecked, but it's not destroyed. Like when the city destroyer in Independence Day fired the laser through the Empire State Building and turned Manhattan and the surrounding areas into nothing but glowing cinders and a 300 square mile parking lot. That's a destroyed city. That's a destroyed city. Not like what... Oh, so every time that there's a shootout or something in any city, well, the city's destroyed. Oh, yeah, I mean, it's just this couple of blocks over here, but no, the city is completely destroyed. Totally destroyed. So I'm sick and tired of them, like, really painting what Banner did as worse than it really was. Again, this is a guy that he didn't set out to destroy the city. He never did. He never does. This is a guy that didn't need to go into that situation. At that point, he was in a helicopter flying overhead, and forget where they were going. But bottom line is he wasn't in that situation, and it was Abomination that was tearing up the city, and it was Banner that finally said, let me do this. I'm the only one that can stop him, or at least let me give it a shot because I might be your best chance. And then he literally jumped out of the helicopter into the situation and then whooped Abomination's ass, doing the clap thing the right way and the best way. But instead, no, everyone keeps like, oh yeah, Hulk destroyed New York City that one time. No, fuck you. No. God almighty. I'm like one of the only people that actually likes that movie, The Incredible Hulk. I actually liked that movie. And like so many people S on that movie, and in the MCU TV shows, they S on Hulk so much. And like right now, he doesn't have many redeeming qualities. Though that being said, let's go back again to episode 1. I totally thought about this and then didn't talk about it. The scene where Jen runs him over with a Jeep. This is the Hulk. That Jeep, like he could literally, put out his hand, and probably not even his hand. He could probably put out his pinky or something and hold that Jeep in place. I mean, like you saw what he did with that boulder, launched into freaking orbit. And you think he can't hold the Jeep? Don't you remember in Avengers, the first one, where he punched that freaking flying whale and he barely moved? Yeah! That whale that probably weighed like 30 tons and Hulk punched it and barely moved. And you're telling me this Jeep that weighs maybe a ton and a half, can just throw his ass across the, halfway across the island? Fuck you. God, there's such bastardization of these characters and just destroying them and just making them jokes and just, I can't even identify them as the characters that they once were. Back to Jen, speaking of Hulk, Banner, at one point she calls up Banner to let him know that she is going to be taking the case against Blonsky. And the entire time that she's talking to him, she's just talking. And like she poses questions and she makes statements, and Bruce tries to answer, and then she just talks over him. And then Bruce tries to, every time that he tries to answer or tries to interject or tries to make a comment, talks over him, steamrolls over him, talks over him. Doesn't let him get a word in edgewise. And that's not the only time she did it in this episode. She also did it to her father. The two people in this episode who were trying more than anything to help her, to lend a sympathetic ear, to let her vent, to try and help her with her situation, to try and bring up her spirits. And all she did was ignore them and talk over them and just be pretty ungrateful and didn't listen to what they said. Like they tried to give good advice, but not once did she listen. In the end, she just did what she wanted herself. I mentioned before that nothing happens in this episode. You're just like, well, you're talking about all this stuff, but it sounds like, there was enough stuff for you to bitch about in this episode, so something must have happened. No. Nothing happens in this episode. I mean, let's break down the episode. So she goes to a bar where she gets fired. A scene and a half later, she gets rehired. So right there, you're minus a step, and now you're plus a step. So you're back at square one. You haven't gone anywhere. You're still at 0. But then you'll say, oh, but she got introduced to Blonsky. But that was it. Meeting someone doesn't constitute anything. I mean, you meet dozens of people every day and it doesn't lead anywhere or mean anything. You think it means something when you say good morning to the guy at Starbucks? That means nothing to you or him. Just meeting someone means bumpkiss. But right now, on this day, nothing has happened. You meeting someone might mean something later down the line, if that happens, which is a story for a later time. If it happens, when it happens. But right now, on this day, nothing has happened. But people might say, but she made the decision so that she should take the case. So that should count for something. If you met somebody and they asked you out on a date and you decided later to go out on the date with them, until you've actually gone out on that date, you've done nothing. Nothing has happened. Just thinking to yourself that you will call them and say, you know what? I would like to go out on a date with you, isn't doing anything. At the end of this episode, the only two people, actually no, there's 3 people. there's only 3 people in the entire multiverse that know she's going to take the case. And it's her and Bruce. And then the very last person in the last 10 seconds of this episode is her new boss, where she says, you know what? I will take the case. She hasn't told her idiot friend. She hasn't told Blonsky. Nobody else. It's just these 3 people. And again, the last 2 only happened in the last minute of the episode. So yeah, nothing happens in this whole episode. Again, she transforms 3 or 4 times into She-Hulk, and there's no reason for it. She doesn't battle anyone. She meets Blonsky. Oh, that's another thing. So when she goes to meet Blonsky, he's at this Super Ultramondo maximum security supervillain prison. And she is terrible at following directions. The guard, while he's down in the 9th level or whatever, in the pit behind multiple doors and everything. And the guard is explaining to her, there's a yellow line on the floor. Do not go past it. There's going to be a sheet of glass between you and him. Do not touch it. If he tries to do anything, do not accept, don't accept candy from this stranger. Basic, really basic directions. And the first thing she does in less than a minute, she breaks one of the rules. Yellow line on the floor. And one of the first things that she does is she takes a step over it. She's so stupid. All you had to do was stand there. Stand there. But instead she moves. And you might be like, dude, chill out. It's not a big deal. Nothing happened. It's the single basic fact that she couldn't follow simple directions in a situation where there are people with guns trying to keep another person in jail because he's dangerous. Going back to her new boss, just based off of what I've seen in this episode, I don't think he's a bad guy. I don't know if maybe it was the actor that said, you know what? I know what you're doing with all the male characters, and I'm going to play this better. I don't know how much of that is just my projection or my hopes, but this guy actually, I could see where he could have come across as unlikable, and you could even say he's a little bit of a slime ball. He's opportunistic. He's a headhunter, but everything he's doing makes sense. Everything he's doing is logical for the most part. I don't know why actually, I do know why. I don't agree with it, but he gives Jen this corner office, this beautiful huge corner office. And I know the whole reason is it is just, it's that, look, I'm giving you all this stuff, so I'm expecting, it's an investment. I'm giving you this really nice office. I'm expecting good things in return. Right after she gets fired, she, of course, goes to try and get hired at other jobs, and nobody wants her. She's kind of blacklisted at this point. She's a hot potato. And then, I don't know how he knew where she was, but she's at, just a bar getting drunk after not getting another job. And he just shows up. Her new boss just shows up out of nowhere. I don't know how he knew she was there, but whatever. Just go with it. So she's like, wait, I know you. You're the guy that got me fired. And now you want to hire me? First off, he did not get her fired. He was the prosecutor on the other side of the case that filed for a mistrial and then got the mistrial. And then her old boss fired her. So he didn't fire her. Her old boss did. So that's not his fault. But now, of course, that she's been fired and word got around, he's like, you know what? I'm going to headhunt her, and I'm going to use this to my advantage. So he says, I've got a job for you. I've got this new division. And she immediately accepts.
You got me fired, now you want to hire me.
To be head of a new division, yes. Take some time.
I accept.
Steps over his words like she does with all the men in this episode, and just immediately, I accept. No negotiation, no question of pay or benefits. And she brought that up. She talked about that at the first bar that she was at, where she's like, I don't want to be an Avenger. Do they get paid? Do they have health care? Do they get maternity leave?
Do the Avengers offer health care?
I don't.
Maternity leave, a pension, are they even paid?
No question, after bringing that up about the Avengers, about pointing that out And yes, first and foremost, yes, the Avengers, they were financed by Tony. Did they give them maternity leave? Did he give them maternity leave? I don't think it was really that thought out. But yes, if anyone ever needed anything, they asked Tony. They're like, hey man, could you help a brother out? And he did. But like, after pointing that out, like, I don't think they had healthcare. I don't think they had benefits. I don't know if they even got paid. She accepted the job immediately with no negotiation, no question of pay or benefits, no question of maternity leave, not even inquiring as to what the hell she's supposed to be doing. You know, she says, or he says that she's going to be heading a new division, but that tells us nothing, and it tells her nothing. She knows nothing. We know nothing. He could have easily been withholding the fact that the new division is called the Blowjob Division. And she just said yes without asking any questions. And he's like, all right, cool. See you Monday. And the only thing that she demanded, the only thing that she wanted and said is non-negotiable is like, I want to choose my own paralegal, which was, I want my BFF to be working here too. Which, I mean, great work ethic for her, because this girl wasn't fired. Nikki wasn't fired. She still works at the other place. So, I mean, like, really great work ethic on Nikki that we never see. We never see Jen call up Nikki and say, hey, I just got a new job and I want to bring you over. And there was no, this never took place, but it would have been kind of nice to see a little bit of a moral dilemma. It's like, oh, I don't know. Like, I really like working here. Or even just, maybe she would have said like, oh, no, screw these guys. They fired you and they'll hire me over there. Yeah. I mean, really great scruples from everybody. Wonderful people, top-notch people. Jen and Nikki and this boss, just wonderful human beings, all of them. Great. These are our heroes, people. These are the ones that we are cheering on, the ones that we are all in on. That's top-notch job. Not terrible in the slightest. I mentioned before Blonsky, and he comes up again. Well, first of all, it's just weird. Like, that entire scene didn't need to happen. Where she goes to the jail, it literally had no point. There was no reason why we had to have that scene. She goes there and she talks to him. That could have been a phone call, or that could have been a phone call, or she actually just could have read a document, because he's like, I've changed. I'm a better person now. I write haikus. So he's turned into a hippie, is what you're telling me. Is that Blonsky is now a chilled, a potted out hippie, is what you're telling me. Which, whatever. We're going to go with it. Just go with it. And that's it. That's all we learn from her visiting him in jail, is that he's chilled out, or at least he says he is. And she, based on this conversation, which was not a well acted by either of them conversation, you're supposed to think that she senses something deeper or gleams something. Again, not a very well acted scene. So it's like, you're supposed to like believe that she believes something. And I don't believe nothing about his sincerity. And so like, this could have just been something that the boss handed him. In fact, he does hand it to her. He's like, oh yeah, this is your first case. I want you representing Blonsky. And she's like, I have a conflict of interest. Or no, she says there is a conflict of interest. And he right off the bat, and like in the trailer, they kind of paint the boss as kind of an idiot and a dumbass, because he's like, yeah, no, it doesn't matter. Well, there's more to that. Like, that's not the end of his sentence. He's like, yeah, that doesn't matter because Blonsky signed a waiver. He's not worried about it. He's cool with you being his lawyer. So, there's a conflict of interest waiver, and that's a thing. I looked it up. Those are things. And so Blonsky says, yeah, I'm good with this. In fact, I want her to be my lawyer. So if anyone has a conflict of interest in this, it really would be him. Because you could argue like, well, she has a conflict of interest. He tried to kill her family member, which is what she says. And that would be unprofessional from any attorney to not be able to, because it's one thing if, okay, he tried to kill me or an immediate family member, like a son or a daughter or a husband or a wife. that's one thing. And there's even extenuating circumstances over extended family, but in the end, the argument can always be, well, he didn't kill him. Despite, it's like, that wouldn't be the biggest complaint about the Hulk. Like, if Jen really wanted to be a good lawyer and a good cousin to Bruce, she would be suing the hell out of the U.S. government. The U.S. government and the U.S. military, that all of the power behind the U.S. military was just sent after the Hulk for over a decade. And I don't know if he's still on the run or if he's been pardoned at this point, but whatever the reason, I would be like, yeah, we're going to sue you for pain and suffering and attempted murder of my cousin. I mean, Blonsky was just a hired gun. Like, Blonsky even says, he's like, I was just a hired gun. Like, I was supposed to be the superhero, and I kind of lost focus, but, we were hunting down this fugitive, your cousin. And yeah, I did try to kill him, but, like, I've gotten better. I've taken my I've taken my happy pills, and I'm good now, and I'm chill. So, I'm cool with this. So, like, she doesn't really have a leg to stand on when she's like, I have a conflict of interest. It's like, it's not really your issue. And even if that issue does exist, you're telling me that you're not a professional enough. Like, why should I keep you as a lawyer, or why should I keep you at this law firm if you're not professional enough to divorce feelings like that? Again, if he had killed Bruce, then you have something to argue about, but he didn't. And I know that's kind of like semantics and splitting hairs, but, like, it's the truth. Like, well, he didn't get killed, so what are you complaining about? There's no lawsuit here, and it didn't happen to you, so you should be professional enough to put your feelings aside to do your fucking job. The job that you were hired to do. The job that we are paying you to do. The job that is before you, that if you are even remotely a professional, you'll set it aside. You will compartmentalize that, and you will do your freaking job. Especially since, again, Blonsky is the one that has something to fear here, because it's like, you might try to do me dirty because I tried to kill your cousin. But he actually says, I'm cool with this. So, like, again, be a professional. Like, this would be a great thing to show in the series if she could actually do that, instead of, like, whining and complaining and making excuses and, again, being unprofessional. If she actually said, you know what, I'm going to do, basically, this guy tried to do an atrocious thing to my cousin. He became a threat to the people of Harlem and, the people of America by extension. But damn it, I am going to represent him, because even he is, despite all this, even he is granted he is granted the right of a fair trial in this country. But no. We couldn't have sent that empowering message to women. Someone who can be professional and put their feelings aside and do their duty. No, couldn't do that. No. And on the topic of Blonsky, at the very end of the episode, the last thing that we see, other than Jen talking into the camera, which we'll swing back to the fourth wall breaking, which is cringe, is that right before the credits roll, there is a video that's uploaded to the internet of Blonsky fighting in a fight club during which movie? Shang-Chi and the 10 Rings. Yeah, if you saw Shang-Chi in the 10 Rings, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for you. I saw it and I regret seeing it. It was not a great movie. Nothing in Phase 4 was good except Spider-Man. But that wasn't even a Marvel movie. That was a Sony movie. So I can't even put that in the win column for them. But anyway, so yeah, Blonsky is fighting in a cage fight club in China in Shang-Chi and the 10 Rings. Now, time frame wise, Shang-Chi takes place in 2024 and She-Hulk takes place in 2025. So only now footage of Abomination fighting in this fight club is being released. Super convenient for the plot. Just go with it. But I call bullshit. Like right now, I call bullshit. But also, on that note, side note, but still in the same vein, The Eternals takes place in 2024. And since The Eternals has come out, we've had like 3 Marvel movies and like 4 TV series. And in all that time, in a year of the MCU universe, no one, not a single fucking person has ever brought up the fact that we have a Celestial's head and hand sticking out of the Indian Ocean. Not one person has mentioned this in a year. Like, to say nothing for the fact, like, there would have been devastation all over the planet, you know, of a hand and a head ripping up through the crust of the earth and moving tectonic plates and shifting the entire, like, central mass of the earth. Like, the core is no doubt no longer spinning at this point because there's a person standing in the middle of it. And, like, that hand and head broke up through the crust. So I don't know why the ocean didn't just backfill into these crevices, you know, and to cool a good portion of the mantle in that region of the earth. And yeah, I don't know why the earth is not just a ball of dust now with no life on it, because that would have wrecked everything. That would have just completely effed the entire system. But yeah, no one has mentioned this fucking thing in a year. In a year of movie time, of universe time, they haven't mentioned this thing once. Nobody has mentioned it. Not a single fucking person has mentioned this damn thing. Oh, God almighty. God is so stupid. I guess I'll start to wrap it up, but let me also point out that this show, it's not funny. This show, right off the bat, has been trying to preach itself as a comedy, but not once in episode 1. Like, there were jokes, or they tried to do jokes, kind of like I'm out on analogies. I'm burnt out, but like they tried to do jokes. You know, they try to be funny in the same way Amy Schumer tries to be funny, but they're not funny. Like, nothing has been funny. Less so in this episode than last episode, if that's possible. You know, like a little bit more than halfway through the episode, She-Hulk finally breaks the fourth wall again. And when she does it, it's done so badly. It's so bad, it's cringe. It's so cringe. I wasn't even sure if she was doing it for a second. I didn't even realize she was talking at the audience for a second. And it's so weirdly awkward because how she's doing is she's walking through this hall and she's looking over her shoulder at different cameras all around her instead of just like one camera. Like I've said before, that Ferris Bueller did the fourth wall breaking right. And like I said, there are 2 types of fourth wall breaking. There's Deadpool and there's Ferris Bueller. And in Ferris Bueller's case, again, it's just a narrator. He's just narrating what's happening. No one else is reacting to him because he's just the narrator at that point. He's just turning to the audience and he's telling you what's going on. In fact, in this, again, she's just a narrator. And what she's saying to the camera, where she's breaking the fourth wall at this point, is just her inner thoughts. Like, easily you're like, this is what I would be going through my mind if I was in that situation too, or I could see how this would go through her mind. But it's not insightful. It doesn't tell you anything you don't know. It's not funny. It doesn't move along the story. It doesn't give you anything extra. In fact, it's annoying because, again, you're like, what the hell is she do? Oh, she's breaking the fourth wall. It's not funny, and it's stupid. I don't know what to do. I don't know where else to go with this. Did I miss something? They kind of like. I think we're supposed to not like her family either. Like, I think what the audience is what am I trying to say? I think what Disney wanted the audience to do was kind of give Jen a pity party. Like, oh, poor Jen, she lost her job, and everyone should be ultra super mondo sympathetic and be giving her, you know, frappuccinos and donuts and, you know, letting her watch Sound of Music and eating ice cream. You know, she should have her little pity party. We should feel sorry for her because she lost her job. And so when she goes home and everyone isn't fawning all over her, in fact, everyone's just talking, and you can be like, oh, wow, they're really making it awkward for her. I'm like, you know what? This isn't too far off base from just normal family conversation. You know, people talking about whatever and asking about how you're doing. And, you know, one guy talks about, hey, I got this promotion at my job, which I know is supposed to be a dig at Jen, or we're supposed to look at it as this guy's an asshole because he's a manager at, you know, he's being boisterous about the fact that he's a manager and just got a promotion at Best Buy. And like they specifically said Best Buy. He didn't say, oh, at the plant or at the store or at the shop. No, they said Best Buy. And that's supposed to be a dig against him. Like, really? You're just a manager at Best Buy? Like, that's how we're supposed to think. You know, Jen's this lawyer and he's this manager at Best Buy, and everyone's like, oh, good for you. You know, why not be happy for other people? This episode wasn't nearly as bad as the other episode, but this had also a lot less going on with it. And, you know, it's inspired absolutely zero faith at all that this show has anything worthwhile to show us within the next 7 episodes. 7 episodes, 6 episodes. I can't remember if it's 7. I can't remember if it's 8 or 9 episodes. But I got my one buddy who, he hasn't watched it, but he, after watching the first episode, he's like, I'm out. I'm done. Fuck this show. I ain't watching shit until Daredevil shows up. Because he was a huge, huge fan, as were many people, including myself, of the Netflix Daredevil. And I've told him over and over again, I'm like, dude, don't even bother. Like, I'll let you know the episode. When he shows up, I'll let you know. But don't, like, dude, do not expect anything. You know, it's like Hawkeye in Endgame.
Don't give me hope.
So I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to have another video coming out this weekend, and you can all also look forward to my review of Rings of Power, which I know I'm going to hate more than She-Hulk. She-Hulk, I'm doing this because this was a request by a viewer, and I like comics, but I've never actually read too many of them. Like, I like comic book movies, and I like the franchises, and I like the TV shows, especially Batman the Animated Series, but I've never really read too many comics. Like, I can count on 2 hands the number of comics I've read in my life. So I like them, but I don't have the same passion as I do for Lord of the Rings, which I'll get into that. I'll get into that when I watch that show, but trust me, this means more to me than comics. So I'm going to, oh, God! I just got really angry and almost had a conniption thinking about what I'm going to have to deal with next week. But anyway, that's all I got for now. Look forward to next week's review for She-Hulk and Rings of Power and the additional videos I have coming out this weekend. Anyway, talk to you later. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw, please hit like and subscribe. It'd be greatly appreciated. If you didn't like what you saw, well, I appreciate you watching all the way to the end, and I hope you come back, because maybe I'll have a video in the future that you do like. Other than that, if anyone out there has anything that they wish that I would review, please let me know, and I'll try and get to it. Other than that, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.